DC Multiverse!
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Brad, the DC Universe Geek. Today we're going to be having an up-close and personal quick look at the gold label Scarecrow action figure from McFarlane Toys. This bad boy comes in the typical McFarlane Toys packaging, black, white, and blue. Side has the name of the character, where it comes from, and the back has a little piece of artwork. All out of the package, you can see that this figure comes with an action figure stand and a trading card, and that's it. The trading card that comes with the figure is the exact same as the image on the back of the box, while the back of the card has a data file bio just like every other action figure. Pause to read if you'd like to. Toe to head, this guy has a very brown color scheme, which, if I'm being honest, this is going to be the Scarecrow I prefer over the regular release that is slated to come out at some point. I'm not exactly sure. I like my Scarecrow brown mostly, as opposed to wearing mostly black colors. One thing I like about this Scarecrow is that I'll actually be able to very easily add more paint detail and stuff like that to give it a little bit more flair, but in general, the brown color itself is really pretty good by itself. I'll probably do something with the boots and that knee pad there. There's buckles and things like that. One thing I really don't like about this figure, the actual color of it, is that you can see that the bottom part here, that's also attached to his pouches here, is a completely different color than the top. These have not been color matched properly. Other than that, though, I don't really have any complaints about this figure visually. I really like how all the orange just pops off of the brown. You know, places that have been intended to be different colors have been painted. You can see how it is just a little bit inconclusive or incomplete. It's incomplete where the darker paint is supposed to be. So I can just go over that myself and fill in any areas where I feel the paint job could have been performed a little bit better. On the back here, we have the tank, and going all around the side, you got these here capsules. You got these, you got the rope around his neck right here. Let's pull his head off quickly. Whoops. Let's see what it looks like without. Oh my God. Let's try that again. Oh, okay. So, if you're not a fan of having the rope around his neck, that's what it looks like. No noose. I also like the detail they've added right here along his leg with this brace. And when you use the articulation, and this isn't really the articulation segment, it does actually move along with the leg, which is cool. I'm not really sure why this piece on his foot isn't connected to anything. I suppose it's probably like that in the game. But I found myself super stoked about this figure when I first saw it because, for one, we don't have a multiverse Scarecrow. I mean, well, we got this one, catching a ride on the back of Bane, but that's it. So it is nice that we have a Scarecrow that, A, is part of the Arkhamverse, and Todd is slowly building it up, what with Killer Croc, Batman, Joker, the Arkham Knight, Deathstroke. Those are all characters from the Arkham universe that he's produced. It's nice to have this here Scarecrow to add to the mix. And just taking one moment to have a little peek at the face sculpt before we get into the articulation, they did a really good job with this. I love the orange and the pink. It makes everything pop. Of course, up close, it doesn't look as tidy as it would to the naked eye, but it's a very, very good head sculpt. And I like the fact that the hood is actually attached right to it, so it's not going to get in the way of the articulation, which we probably should get into now. The head's on a ball joint, and, you know, it's not super posable. Looking up is kind of not there. Looking down is kind of not there. I suppose when you take off this here noose, it'll be a little bit better, but probably not too much different. The waist, I'm not really sure how much I want to try and test the waist out. You can see that you've got these tubes here, and they're actually attached down here and up here, so I'm just gonna assume that that's not much. So the only articulation we get really is in this torso, and it's okay, but with a figure like this, you have to remember that these kind of pieces of detail, they're gonna hold the figure from keeping its pose, and really it's not gonna hold it anyway. It's not super articulate, so don't count for much with the torso. We have the in the arm rounded hinge, and that's pretty good. We got a bicep swivel, full 360 obviously, double jointed elbows, rounded hinge in the wrist. We know what it's going to do. We know what the articulation is going to be like on that. Down here, he's got that McFarlane groin, the typical one. The back of his like coat, or whatever the heck he's wearing here. I tend to think trench coat, but I'm not really sure you would call this a trench coat. Anyway, it's going to get in the way somewhat, a lot, depending on which way you're trying to move his leg. But Scarecrow's not exactly an acrobat or a ninja, So I feel like this is an acceptable amount of articulation for this character. He has some like that, not a ton. Of course, he's got knees that are these double jointed? Yeah, they're double jointed. Okay, so this one, that's actually really articulated. Oh, I shouldn't say they are double jointed, should I? One is double jointed, and the one where he's got the leg brace is not. Look at that. However, if I have one of those attached to my leg, would I have the equivalent of double jointed knees? Probably not. Then you've got the rounded hinge down here in the ankle. It's going to have the pivot. It's going to have the toe articulation, you know, yada yada, what we expect. And again, McFarlane has carried on with that whole trying to make the boot continue with the piece of articulation, trying to hide the ugly ball joint. So that's always really cool that he's decided that this is the way he's going to move forward. So what do I think about this Scarecrow figure? I like it. I like it a lot. I know it's less articulated in some ways, but it certainly is a very cool looking figure. I'm glad to have a Scarecrow to add to the set, whether it's an Arkham collection, maybe you just collect the Arkhamverse figures, maybe you just collect Bat villains, maybe you just collect Batverse characters. Either way, it's good to have this Scarecrow. He looks great. If you're a customizer, there's certainly places and areas on the figure where you could add a little bit of extra detail or flair, or if you just want to leave it as is, it does a pretty good job of being vanilla as well. Anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions. Hopefully you found them to be a useful, interesting waste of time. If you did, you know where all the buttons are that do all the stuff, and I will see you with the next one. Have a DC day, everybody, and take care.